Hey, my name is Nick Breeze.
And I'm John Satram.
And we run an event series called D.R.E.A.M, or Data Rules Everything Around Me, presented by Mozilla in partnership with Netizen. The internet is a network of networks that spans the entire planet. Some of those networks are incredibly impressive, like the ones that run across the ocean floor. Others are pretty crappy, like the last mile networks that connect most of us to the rest of the internet, our ISPs, or internet service providers.
ISPs vary depending on the types of technology that they use.
Yeah, also in terms of how much they overcharge their customers.
Or what data they track from us and how much they sell it for.
And the kinds of content that they block.
But the one thing that they all have in common is they suck.
Depending on where you live, you usually have the choice between one or maybe two ISPs to choose from. But if you live in a low-income area, a rural area, or an otherwise not profitable area for an ISP, they'll just pass you by.
But seeing how communication is a fundamental human right, organizations like the Detroit Community Technology Project are working to address these inequities and close the digital divide.
We sat down with Janice Gates, the DCTP's director for the Equitable Internet Initiative, to talk about what ISPs could look like when they're owned and controlled by the community.
There's this idea that if you are living in a low-income neighborhood, that you have to settle for less. In this case, in terms of communications infrastructure. In Detroit, high-speed internet is really concentrated in downtown and midtown Detroit. 40% of the people in Detroit have no internet connection at all. 60% of people live in homes with no broadband connection, and then the 30% of the population lives below the federal poverty line. The Equitable Internet Initiative is really our response, which consists of tech organizations and non-tech people, artists, activists, community organizers, and educators. We incubate community-owned neighborhood internet service providers in this effort to redistribute power, resources, and connectivity in Detroit. Most ISPs suck because they are focused on the bottom line and not the actual people. So when they think about going into a community, they think about numbers. We look at it as this idea that technology has to be designed for everyone versus anyone. When you design something for anyone, you kind of disregard where a person is coming from and what they've experienced. When you design technology and communications infrastructure with everyone in mind, you make sure that those that are the most affected and the most marginalized are at the forefront of generating the solutions to their own problems. While you're doing that, you ensure that that process is participatory, that it's collaborative, and that's how you ensure that you have a community-owned and governed network. So the first step is that we partnered with organizations that have had really strong reputations and records of community engagement. From there, we hired teachers who then went on to train the digital stewards. We really ensured that the digital stewards came specifically from the communities. They're the ones who build out the communications infrastructure. The stewards went through a 20-week training program, and so they learned community organizing skills, so they learned how to facilitate community meetings, they learned how to canvass their neighborhoods, they learned how to conduct and analyze data from surveys. And then the last half of those 20 weeks were really dedicated to the wireless engineering skills that they would need to build out this communications infrastructure. Does that take a little bit longer in terms of building things out? Absolutely. But digital justice matters. We're really committed to privacy, security, and consent. Our digital stewards actually have one-on-one conversations with the residents that come onto the network, and they verbally go over the privacy policy. And so we kind of think of bridging the digital divide as kind of building a healthy ecosystem. The digital stewards are community technologists, and for us, that means that they use and build technology in a way, and they integrate it into the community in a way that heals relationships and restores them.